Continuing with Luke chapter 2 from verse 36. There was also a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple but worshipped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at this very moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. When Joseph and Mary had done everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee to their own town of Nazareth. And the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. So this is the second. Yesterday we saw the encounter with Simeon the prophet, the priest. And today it's Anna the prophetess. So the first thing we should notice about her is that her dad's name was Phanuel, Phanuel. So he was probably mocked a lot. That's terrible. Anyway, what's interesting just about her life story is that she'd lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage and then was a widow until she was 84. So that is just quite a hectic backstory. It's just like this little piece thrown in. She was married for 7 years, her husband died, and then she just committed herself to God for the rest of her life, which is hectic. She never left the temple but worshipped night and day, fasting and praying. So this is clearly someone with a special dedication to God, like above and beyond most of us, if not all of us. But then, almost as a result of that, I mean, it's interesting, we can only speculate, and I hate it when people speculate about the Bible. This is how she was feeling. We don't know how she was feeling. But what we can say, what it looks like, is that it says, coming up to them at this moment, she gave thanks to God, spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. So she's a prophetess, she's completely committed to God, and she knew who this child was. She speaks about looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. So she had this sense of who this baby was, just like Simeon did. And I wonder, this is the speculation, like this woman had been faithful night and day, just praising and worshiping God, where it looks like God might have just said, like, hey, here's a little bonus for you. Almost like with Simeon, we see the same thing. Like, you've been so devout, you've been so faithful, you get to connect with this child that is going to be the Savior of the world. And you get to speak revelations about it. And it says she spoke to all the people about this child that would bring about the redemption of Jerusalem. So I like that. And then verse 39, Joseph and Mary had done everything required by the law of the Lord. It's just going back to that thing we've been looking at where God works within the culture. He works within the culture that he's created in the Old Testament and the Jewish law. When they'd done everything required by the law, they returned to Nazareth. And then just how this passage finishes, the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. So he grew strong, so that sounds like physically strong. He was the son of a carpenter, so you imagine he might have been having to do some carpentry work, working with wood, heavy things. So he worked out a little bit. He had his own kind of private gym, just helping his dad, in a sense. So he was strong, but it just says he was filled with the wisdom and the grace of God was upon him. So people that encountered him would have begun to notice something. The grace of God was on him. He was wisdom. There's something about this child. And so all through Jesus' early life, and sadly we don't see much more about his life. There's one more story about his early life that we're going to come to. And then suddenly he's an adult. He's doing ministry. He's 30 years old. We miss out a lot on what Jesus was like as a child, like what was it like to encounter him. But there's this sense that people that would have encountered him would have sensed this wisdom and the grace of God upon him. So there was something special all through his life. There are these fingerprints or footprints of God at work pointing towards this huge announcement of his presence that comes with his baptism, with the time in the desert, with the beginning of miracles and teaching and all of that. So again, it's a small innocuous passage, but it gives us this beautiful picture into Anna the prophetess, who'd been so faithful to God and receives this moment of being able to connect with the child and speak about who he's going to be to the people that are listening. And just Mary and Joseph again, just continually watching, pondering, Mary pondering the things in her heart as this child grows up. What is he going to become? What does this mean for Israel? When is this all going to start to take effect?